So we just went to the market in Fribourg. Anyway, so we got apples for our salad later. We got leek for the quiche, an onion for the quiche. We got eggs for the quiche, and they're good. And this is not for us. I mean, it's definitely not student food. It's really good cheese from here, Vacherin. And I also got this that isn't directly for our lunch together, but it's typical Fribourg bread. It's called Quiche. Cut a piece, and you can see it has saffron in it, I think you call it. So because of the saffron, if you say saffron in it, the bread is kind of yellowish. So like the typical Swiss bread will be tresse, and in Fribourg on top of that there's Quiche.
And do you change the recipe every time you make it, or do you have a stick recipe?
I do not. I generally Google it every single time before I make it because I never remember measurements, but I don't stay very, I don't necessarily follow the recipe, and I sometimes just put in what's in the fridge. To be very honest, I haven't been making it too much lately, but this is something that I used to make a lot when I was a bachelor student, and I would really just kind of put what I felt like in it. Right now I'm a little bit less experienced in it again. It's important for me to say that I used to be, when I was a bachelor student, I couldn't afford necessarily to go get stuff like this, especially nice cheese at the market, so it's not very representative of my student life.
And did you make it because it was cheap to make as a student? Like, you don't have a lot of money?
It's cheap to make, and it's also great for like picnics when you're a student because you can eat quiche cold or warm, and I don't know how it is at all universities, but a lot of universities there aren't that many microwaves, and if you want to bring something healthy from home, it's nice to have the option to eat it cold. It's also, so I used to live, when I did my bachelor's, I lived in Fribourg actually. I did my master's somewhere else, but did my bachelor's here, and I lived really close to university. So all of my girlfriends would come to my place for lunch, and we'd go shopping together and like split the costs, and then eat lunch together. And we often would just make really big salads with masses of things in it because it goes quickly. We had the time to make it. But we also would sometimes make quiche, and they really loved it. I really loved it. And then with the salad. And yeah, so it was cheap. It was something that we could make easily, and then if there are leftovers, they're great leftovers.
And how often do you make it?
Well, like I said, right now I haven't been making it too often. But I actually should. Like, sometimes you do recipes a lot. Sometimes you kind of forget about them. And right now I made it the other day because I had people coming over, and it's generally a crowd pleaser and quite cheap to do for a lot of people. But I used to make it maybe every 2 weeks. And then if you make it for yourself, it can be a snack for the whole, like a meal for the whole week. And if you make it for friends, well, you might have one piece left or something like that.
What does this dish mean to you?
It means a lot of memories to me. I remember my mom making it, so our mom, making it a lot. And I remember liking it as a kid already. And I used to make it with these two girlfriends that I did my bachelor's with all the time, Lina and Letty. And give them a little shout out because I missed them. I miss having lunch with them. And it was just memories of having lunch with the two of them and having like long conversations. We had like an hour lunch break, and if we didn't have classes after that, we would kind of extend and just be talking, about maybe we were studying the same thing, but like either classwork, sometimes gossip, stuff. I don't have that anymore. And this dish, it's very beautiful. It has this beautiful stand and stuff like that. It used to belong to my grandma. If Maya didn't mention it in any of her videos, our grandma used to work in a cooking store. So I have a lot of nice dishes and cooking equipment that comes from her. which also is always nice memories. It's always cool to have her with in the kitchen in some way. There, while we're at it.
Are you exact with the measurements?
As you can see, no. Like I said, I do look up generally a recipe that I kind of base myself on, but then I'll add things. If I don't have something, I'll replace it by something else or just leave it out.
And why did you make it so much when you were, I mean, you are still now, but why did you make it so much as a student?
Well, kind of for the reasons I listed earlier, you know, it was a crowd pleaser. My friends and me really liked it, and it was cheap. It's quite quick to make, but it's a little bit more consistent than a few other things, and changes it up a bit. Because like a typical student dish would be otherwise soup or an omelet or pizza, and it's a bit healthier than pizza, but still has a bit more to it. Another typical dish would be a frittata, but I don't know. We always made that, and it's kind of what I associate with my bachelor times. So I had preheated the oven to 200, and now I'm putting it in, and it goes in for 45 to 50 minutes, which I remember now when I made it as a student, it was often like I wouldn't have class in the morning, and I'd have my girlfriends come over for lunch, and then we would have class in the afternoon, or the other way around. We would come home at 12 together to my place and make it, and then like work at my place in the afternoon. So now we have to wait.
And would you say that there are other, like, what other typical student recipes a lot of people make?
Well, I just mentioned a few. It kind of also depends on, there are different types, you know, like I've always lived as a student in Flatshare, and there are people who will, you know, like make noodles and tomato sauce all the time, and you can make that for really cheap, obviously. I wanted something a little bit maybe lighter and healthier, and so I made those things. I listed a few earlier. There's obviously like the omelet, frittata, salads, soups. There's some really good cheap soups that you can make. Nowadays with my roommate, we're PhD students, so we have a little bit more. We go to the market, and often we'll make a larger dish on the weekend and make lots of leftovers, and then we reuse them. Like he makes jokes about us having the endless like pot of leftovers, because like every day we kind of revamp like a vegetable dish with something else. One day maybe with noodles, one day with rice, you know, like one day just the vegetables, then at the end you're putting in an omelet or in a frittata. And that's easy because you might cook really nice once or twice in a week, and the rest you still have yummy food from the leftovers. And I eat now lunch at work all the time, so I always bring a Tupperware, and so that helps to be making these huge dishes. And obviously it depends where you live, because in Switzerland eating out is super expensive. In other countries it's a little bit more affordable. I did my master's in Amsterdam, and there my rhythm was a little bit different. And I also did an internship in the UK, in London, and it was also a little bit, I didn't cook in the same way. For example, here going to the market is quite expensive, but when I was in Amsterdam, if I managed to go to the market, it was always cheaper.
Allons manger. Va laisser allumer